Is the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA, a weekly recap of your Eagles and news around the NFL. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rob's Automotive and Collision, BCWSA, Chickies and Pete's, Allstate Fairless Hills Tom LaCroix, and Penworth Financial Services, Penn Community Bank, Capital Grill, Ventresca's LTD, Independence Blue Cross, and SEPTA. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Now, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Great to be with you, Mr. Insider Dave Spadaro.
Hello, Mr. Voice.
And I am Mr. Outsider.
No, you're Mr. Voice.
No, it's good to be with you guys, and what a time this is. We have a great guest tonight.
Yes, we do.
We have Jeff with us from the Philadelphia
Jeff McLane is ready to go.
Jeff McLane is the absolute best. Nobody knows more about this team in the NFL than you do, Jeff, and we have been following you for a long time, and what I like is you are honest, you are sincere, and if you say it, you mean it. You're not trying to just get reactions. You cover the highs, the lows, the controversial issues, but you do a really journalistic job.
Oh, well, Myra, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me, both of you guys, obviously, longtime fans.
Fan of both of you. We're thrilled, Jeff, because we've got a lot to talk about. I don't know how much you want to get into the regular season finale. You want to touch on that game a little bit?
Sure, absolutely.
Our impressions, I mean, look, I'm a huge Tanner McKee fan. I was thrilled to see him on the field, running the offense, looking comfortable. His first NFL start against the Giants starting team. And to me, what's striking is that the Eagles – 2s and 3s beat a starting NFL team. And it's just, I know the Giants stink, but Merrill and Jeff, that's remarkable. And then you look at Kansas City and how they played against the Denver Broncos. I'm just blown away.
I have not seen a quarterback in my career, and I've been doing this is my 48th season, fall off the cliff to the degree that Carson Wentz did from when he first came into the league and had a brilliant rookie year and a second year where he was probably the MVP when he went down against the Rams, to the point where he can't do anything right.
Yeah, well, I hate to pile on Carson, but it has been quite the fall. But, it's not like he had first-teamers all around him. It wasn't like Andy was really playing to win. So, in his defense, not the best scenario.
But he can't. He didn't even look like really he could function in the basics of the game. It's stunning to me. And Merrill and I have talked about this many times. Jeff, would love to get your opinion. Is Carson's decline a result of the injuries? Is it a result of his approach to the game? A combination of the. Why do you think Carson Wentz has gone from the mountaintop to mopping up at the end of the regular season?
Yeah, well, probably all of the above. Obviously I was more in tune to what Carson was doing when he was with the Eagles, and certainly at the end of it. So, I wrote a number of stories kind of like talking to people in the building about what had happened with him, and a lot of them opined that they thought the injuries had caught up to him, and that, he had this long, arduous process just to get warmed up. And they're like, geez, 45 minutes for him to warm up. There's got to be, for a 27-year-old, what's wrong with him? And he did have all those injuries over the course of those seasons. And then I had other people, other coaches and people in the building telling me that, that season probably was an anomaly. There was so much that went well for him that season, and he had a great team around him, and that probably maybe propped him up a little bit higher, better than maybe he was over the long haul. And then, there was also concern about just the way that he approached stuff in the meeting rooms and how he handled criticism.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, not exactly the easiest guy to coach.
Yeah.
I remember the night he was drafted, second pick in the NFL draft. And I stood there waiting to see what happened because I prayed that the Rams would take Jared Goff, that the Eagles would be able to take Carson Wentz. And I was thrilled. Then I went upstairs with Dave afterwards, and Frank Reich said to me, this is a generational quarterback.
Well, I tell you, he was, and that 2017 season prior to his injury, he was incredible. And I will, as we segue into what really matters, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles, Tanner McKee gave me some of those vibes. I kept thinking Tanner was his performance reminded me of Carson against the Cleveland Browns, the opening game of 2016, getting the ball out quickly, being decisive, being accurate, working the pocket well. Not as athletic as Carson
No, and
Wentz.
Carson, that's the other thing. Carson really lost his ability to be a running quarterback when he went down with that injury and he had an ACL and structural damage. Next year he hurt his spine, and he was not very coachable. Doug used to pull his hair out because he wanted Carson to come back, look at the field, and let go of the ball. And Carson tried to keep extending plays, and he lost the ability to extend plays. Other quarterbacks do that, but then they compensate and they learn a new way to play quarterback, and they're able to be. Donovan McNabb was still a very successful quarterback after he lost his real ability to be fast.
Yeah, and he started playing too much hero ball, and that really hurt him. I think there was a coach in Indianapolis who told me his last season there that he had thrown 11 passes left-handed.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was crazy. So like
11 passes left-handed.
Left-handed, like so in a circumstance he was just kind of
only Patrick Mahomes could
in
do
desperation. So it really spoke to in some ways the decline of his game, and then just the fact that he didn't play great in this final game for the Chiefs is a little bit of a surprise because Andy's always done such a great job of rehabbing quarterbacks and getting guys a little bit further down the depth chart to come in and play well, and that's what we're seeing here with Tanner McKee. We saw with Kenny Pickett. I mean, these guys are coaching these guys up, and I agree with you. I thought Tanner played great. It was a little more of what I expected out of the Kellen Moore offense.
Very much so.
But obviously to Kellen's credit and Nick's credit, they morphed the offense into more of what Jalen does best, and obviously became more run heavy. But Tanner got the ball out quick, and Dave, you probably know this better than I have. But there were people in the building all season telling me this kid can play. They were really excited about the way he was practicing.
Oh yeah, and he has done nothing in these last 2 weeks, coming in late in the game against the Dallas Cowboys, and then Sunday against the New York Giants to kind of dispel or kind of put any, what word am I looking for? Soak any of that excitement about Tanner McKee. He is a really, really good prospect.
Well, he is.
And the Eagles are in great shape at the quarterback position in a league, Merrill. And Jeff, when you look around and you see the Drew Locks out there playing so poorly, and just Cooper Rush and what he's done, and the Chicago Bears struggling with Caleb Williams, and just all down the line. Quarterback situation in the league is so bad.
Well, but there are guys who come out like Jaden Daniels, who's been tremendous, and Bo Nix has had a good year, and I think that Drake May is going to turn out to be a very good quarterback for New England.
But how many teams do you think are in need of quarterbacks?
Off the top of my head, probably 12.
That's a lot, right? Out of 32? That's a lot.
So what you're saying is it's interesting what they'll do with Tanner this offseason. Will they automatically give him that number 2 job? And I think he's earned it. If that's where they want to go, Kenny Pickett, they only have his contract
one year left, right?
They got 1 year left, so they're gonna have they have someone that they could trade potentially if they want to keep Tanner or trade Kenny, or if they want to trade Kenny and
you mean if they want to
trade Tanner, and they could, because they could get.
They could get a lot.
But, of course, they can increase the stock if they're going forward with Jalen Hurts, obviously.
They could get at least a 2 for Tanner McKee right now, I think.
I don't know about that, but maybe.
You mean 2 number ones? I agree with you.
No, not 2 number ones. But I think they could get
for Tom Brady Jr. Come on.
Well,
Dave is off the table right now.
I love Tanner McKee. I'm telling you, I love.
Well, 10 years ago, he would have been a first-round draft pick when you were drafting.
Tanner?
Yeah, when you were talking about classic drop-back passers without RPOs.
What did he end up getting drafted?
Sixth round, 188 overall.
I mean, the second half, this was one game against the Giants, and not very good. In the second half, I thought there were some throws there.
Sure.
They're just second-level throws. He kept trying to throw against the zones, and I just don't think he was seeing it there. But, again, just one game. He wasn't playing with the first unit offensive line. He wasn't, no AJ, no Devontae, no Saquon. I mean, the run game was pretty much really struggling. So the fact that he was able to kind of carry it on his shoulders was impressive.
He validated. Merrill Reese has been loving on Jahan Dotson all season. And we're all going, well, Jahan's not productive, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden he's targeted 10 times.
All I've said is that he should be targeted 3 or 4 times a game because he is a viable third receiver. And they've pretty much ignored him.
Well, I mean, look, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they just don't throw the ball much. I think they're last in the league in terms of how many times that Jalen throws the ball. That's another topic. Jahan ran the AJ routes and he ran the Devontae routes. So he was the first or second read in a lot of plays, and he made the catches that were coming to him. So, good for him. And then, of course, if one of those guys goes down, hopefully he can step into that role. He didn't quite do it when they were without both of those guys in the Buccanuears game. But
that was so far back.
And there were a bunch of other issues. There were a bunch of other issues in that game.
Merrill and I talked about this, Jeff. Wanted to get your opinion on the way the Eagles decided last week to rest their starters, and that included Saquon Barkley, thus ending his quest to break Eric Dickerson's record. Where were you on that thought process?
As a reporter, I'm going to cover it. But if you ask my opinion, I think it's a no-brainer. Why would you risk anybody? We saw what happened with A.J. Brown. I know people keep bringing that up, but if Saquon gets hurt or anybody of the other key guys, God forbid, Nick would have gotten killed. You can't play 2020 hindsight here if they don't win the Super Bowl. In my mind, this is the right decision to make. I have an opportunity to rest a lot of guys that needed it. If you talk to Lane Johnson, you talked to Jordan Mailata. I know that they said they wanted to go for the record.
They needed rest.
But it's a long season.
And an early bye. And look what Green Bay lost. They lost their best receiver, Christian Watson.
Yeah.
The only they could have done is change their seating a little bit. But they lost their best player. And right now there's a little bit of a question mark about Jordan Love.
I think it's there's probably a little gamesmanship there. I think Love will start on Sunday, and I think he even said that he wasn't sure about Malik Willis. But my guess is there's a little bit of a gamesmanship.
All right.
there.
Now how about right now? Are you at all concerned about the availability of Jalen Hurts?
No. Look, they can't say that he's coming back because he's still in the concussion protocol. Every day you never know what's going to happen, and he could be limited tomorrow and still be in the concussion protocol and then come back on Thursday and take a step back. So they have to obviously proceed as the doctors are telling them to proceed. My sense, just talking to people around the team and talking to people around Jalen, is that they expect him to play Sunday. But you can't say that quite yet.
And the Eagles, I think there's a perception out there that the Eagles are in some way having some sort of fun with his game, with his gamesmanship, with his whatever you want to.
But they can't.
They can't.
With this.
They can't. Right. This is completely out of the Philadelphia Eagles' hands. This is in the hands of the neurologist. He has to pass the baseline concussion test to pass through protocol.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is a neurologist who had dealt with a lot of head injuries, and he said there are times when you see somebody really walloped, like we saw with Zach Ertz.
Or Sidney Brown.
Or Sidney Brown, and he's back the next week. And he's seen somebody take a slight hit, and for some reason, they don't come back for 3 months.
That's absolutely correct. We've seen it for many, many years, at least for me covering the team. Oh my gosh, why is this guy out longer than? You can't. It's the brain. I mean, none of us are neurologists. None of us know what's going on inside there. They do. Obviously, every player is different in how they handle these types of injuries, and it would be ridiculous. And in fact, they probably would get in trouble if they fooled around with this injury.
By league, by league rules, Nick is doing exactly what Nick is allowed to do, and that is say nothing other than Jalen Hurts remains, as he does at the moment, as we speak. He remains in concussion protocol, and that's all you can say.
I expect to see him out there Sunday, but who really? None of us know 100%.
Yeah, if you read the tea leaves, and then again, just sources that I've talked to,
do you read tea leaves?
Well, tea leaves. It was Ian Book got released today. That's one of them.
That's a good tea leaf.
And a good one would be I think he's going to be out there tomorrow. I don't know if he's going to be a full participant. Let's see what happens. The Eagles, of course, cannot say anything until it actually happens, and we'll get the official report. We'll be out there for the first maybe 20 minutes of practice, so we'll see if he's out there, and then we're kicked out at that point. But then we'll get the practice report around 5-6 o'clock
at the stadium.
At the stadium,
practice is at the stadium tomorrow.
Well, I think they're anticipating some wintry weather, as we saw on Sunday. Very, very windy as well. So any advantage you can get practicing on the grass rather than in the indoor facility at NovaCare behooves the Eagles to do that just to get used to what they're going to see on Sunday.
It's going to be a game played in very cold weather. I mean, the high is about 37, but by that time it's going to be closer to 30.
Yeah, and I don't know how windy. If it's going to be as windy as these these next few days. I think today was windy. I think they're calling for some wind tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen on Sunday. I think wind played a factor into Jake missing that 39-yarder. That end of the link is typically tough for kickers.
Yeah, it is.
He should make that. And I think there is some legit concern about how he's kicked the season going into the playoffs. Dave, Merrill, you probably remember as well as anyone the last time the Eagles played the Packers in the playoffs at Lincoln Financial Field. David Akers missed.
No, that's not correct. It was the Michael Vick, Riley Cooper pass in the end zone. The Packers won that game. But in 2003, you are correct. David Akers
kicked the winner, but didn't he miss two against the Packers?
Yeah, and that was one of the few times I can ever remember in a post game where Andy Reid was really critical of a player. And that was the last game David Akers played as an Eagle, because after that, they went out and drafted a kicker in the 6th round.
Well, I know the fans who are here, David and Brian and everybody's excited that there's going to be cold, windy weather at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday. The fans embrace it. Who needs 65-degree days when you can have a 30-degree windy day at Lincoln Financial Field?
Jeff McLane of the Inquirer is our guest, and we'll be back right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's with a holiday reminder about the gift that always fits and always gets returned. Our Chicky and Pete's gift cards. Buy online and we'll ship them right to your home or office. Need them right now? Go to chickyandpete's.com and we'll send them right to your email. Or you can always come see us at all locations and pick up your gift cards. It's the gift that always fits, yet always gets returned. Chicky and Pete's gift cards. Happy holidays from Chickies and Pete's.
At Penn Community Bank, we're in the business of building thriving communities. That means breaking down the barriers to home ownership, supporting fair, affordable access to housing from Philadelphia to the Lehigh Valley, like our Home Opportunity Mortgage that empowers eligible borrowers with no minimum credit score, no down payment, access to grant programs, and so much more. Visit PennCommunityBank.com/home for more details. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open. Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, proven.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And back we are at Chickies and Pete's in Audubon, and our guest is Jeff McLane of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Jeff, I think that a lot of people had question marks early about Nick Sirianni, but I think he has come a long way, and public opinion has really changed because he has really done a brilliant job when you look at his record after 4 years. The fact that they've been to the playoffs every single season, and he has a record now of 42-20.
Yeah, I mean, how can you argue with the numbers? But it was just like a couple months ago that people still wanted him fired.
Yeah.
So and if let's say they lose Sunday, I mean, what's going to happen in terms of
How dare you suggest
the
that?
court of public opinion? Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to suggest it, but my point is that look, if you step back and look what's happening around the league the last few days, guys getting fired after one season, and teams continually make mistakes.
Well, that was Jared Mayo and
then what just happened with Las Vegas. Pierce is out.
Oh, is he out?
Yeah, he
That's
got
number
fired.
6.
He's out too.
Oh, I didn't see that one. So that's 6.
Yeah, I mean, so it is a credit, obviously, to
2
Jeffrey
former players.
Yeah, to Jeffrey Lurie. The last 4 coaches that he's hired, they've all been successful for the most part, gone to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Nick is now matched what Andy did in terms of going 4 straight seasons. And if you look at his record, it's top 10 all time in terms of winning percentage.
Two notes here. Every single coach that Jeffrey has hired has made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then with Nick, the question that I have for you guys is, what do you think he does well? I mean, look, there's a great roster. I get it. But why has this team been successful? And what has Nick Sirianni done to make this team successful?
Well, I mean, I hate to
You're our guest.
sound
Please.
Pollyanna-esque, but I mean, certainly the culture that he has created and fostered amongst the players and in that locker room, and then the relationship between the coaches and the players is very strong. So I think he allows the players to be themselves. They know they can go to him, and so I think that's important. I think Nick doesn't get enough credit for what he does in terms of game management, what he does on 4th downs. You look at them; they've been among the most successful teams on 4th down. He spends a lot of time on his game management and how to handle timeouts, et cetera. I think he's underrated in that regard. And I think he doesn't get enough credit in terms of what's happened with the offense and how it's evolved. I mean, they've kind of brought back some of what Nick's offense when they decided at the bye to become more of a run-heavy unit. I mean, that's Nick stuff. Certainly, there's a lot of Kellen Moore's. It's still his terminology. It's still a lot of what he does in terms of the passing game. But Nick doesn't get enough credit for that. And so, and then of course you're the head coach. I didn't like this narrative that okay, what do you do if you're not in charge of the scheme of the offense or defense? He's the head coach. Everything falls on him. Everything is under his stewardship. So, and then credit obviously for I don't know how the coordinators were hired necessarily, but he brought in 2 very good coordinators in this offseason.
Well, I see owners all over the place hiring coordinators as head coaches. I mean, they talk about Ben Johnson in Detroit. Oh, you watch television. He's going to be one of the leading candidates. You talk about this guy, that guy, and what happens is too many owners hire schemes. To me, a head coach has to be somebody who motivates, organizes, inspires, directs, and can recognize talent and work with people and hires good assistant coaches to teach. And I think, when I look at the Eagles coaching staff, I see a young coach right now who has a real presence. I mentioned to you in the auditorium, I look at Michael Clay. And when he steps behind that microphone, he's in control. I can see him looking at a locker room and players respecting him. And he's a powerful guy. I think that's big. And I think Nick is a motivator. The players like him. He has a sense of authority. And as you said, he stands there on the sideline and he leads. Being a leader is the number one thing for a head coach.
And I also think that, he's done this in all of his time here. In his first season, the Eagles offense, they changed in midstream. In his first season, he gave up play calling duties.
Yeah.
He's gone. That's why I kind of didn't understand at the beginning of the season why everybody thought it was such a big deal that Nick was giving up control of the offense. He wasn't calling the plays in the Super Bowl season. Like it's what he's doing now. Am I wrong? That he's kind of not been doing that for most of the time as a Philadelphia Eagle.
Correct.
So I didn't understand why he was the coach on the hot seat, because he had apparently, or in people's opinions, been knocked down a peg or two into this quote-unquote CEO role. I just never quite understood why he was the target of so much national media.
No, to me, communication skills are really important. I say, in my 100 years of broadcasting the games, the worst coach I've ever been around was Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly couldn't communicate with people.
You will not get an argument from me on that one.
He could not get through to people. He couldn't look. Did he ever look you in the eye, Jeff? He never looked me in the eye.
Well, he would on the podium. He would. You ask him a question, and he would stare you down. Off the podium was the issue that some of us had with him.
Coaches on his staff used to come to me and say to me, "Do you think I did anything wrong? Because Chip doesn't talk to me." He had Bill Davis as the defensive coordinator, but he didn't really, because Jerry Azzinaro was the one who was really running the defense. It was the craziest staff, but I thought he was. Well, he came out like a house on fire, did well for a while, but once his scheme went under other teams' magnifying glasses, his game just fell apart.
Yeah, and everyone remembers Jeffrey's press conference afterwards, and he said he's looking for someone with emotional intelligence, suggesting obviously that Chip had lacked in that. And it is.
I mean, he's bright. He's fine at Ohio State.
I'm fine with Chip.
Hopefully they lose this weekend.
We've spoken since he's left several times, and so I'm fine with Chip. But
you've spoken to Chip several times.
Yeah.
Was he nice to you?
Well, he helped me with a story I did about Dom DeSandro. It was very generous.
He's never spoken to me.
Maybe he loves me now.
I remember a reporter saw him at the NovaCare complex, he had covered Chip at Oregon. And when Chip later saw him, he was really effusive. Actually, it was at Washington when we played Washington, and Chip was effusive in his welcoming of this reporter. And afterward, the reporter turned to somebody, and I overheard him say, "Geez, I wish he had been that nice to me when I covered the team."
I think
disingenuous niceness of Chip Kelly.
Jeff, I remember the initial press conference.
We're going on so many tangents.
That's
today.
okay.
This is fantastic.
We have Jeff McLane.
Yeah,
we can go
great.
any place we want, because Jeff always has a great outlook on these things. The first press conference they had, everybody was in the auditorium. After the press conference, Jeffrey Lurie motions me to the stage, and he says to Chip, I want you to meet Merrill Reese. He's the best play-by-play man in the league. He's been with us for a long time. Chip punches me in the arm, friendly, and says, when you have a chance, come up to my office. I'd love to pick your brain and hear your stories. So 2 weeks later, Derek Boyko, the PR director, comes to me and he says, come with me. Nobody's in Chip's office. He isn't doing anything. We went up to the office. We opened the door. I walked in. Chip jumped off from his desk, ran up to me, patted me on the shoulder, and said, "Hey, good to see you. Take care," and sent me out the door. That was it. He could have cared less.
Yeah.
Another time, I was standing next to the guy from Sports Illustrated at the time.
The stories are endless.
Albert Breer. And I'm standing on one side, and Albert's standing on the other side. And I said, "Hey, Chip." And he turned his back on me and talked to Albert Breer because he's national and he could give Chip more national exposure. He could care less.
Well, he liked Albert because he was from New England. Chip had an affinity for guys. If you were a reporter and you came from New England, he typically gave you a little bit of his time. I have 1,000 stories about covering Chip for 3 years.
But his coaching staff didn't like him.
Well, some guys, I have stories about that too. But obviously, that's all in the past.
And you know where he lost the team? With the whole incident with Riley Cooper. Once he brought Riley Cooper back to that team after making racial remarks, he lost a lot of respect.
Yeah, that was certainly a check against him.
You're so diplomatic, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I felt like that could have been handled too.
Well, he's much
above
tougher.
him.
You're much tougher in print.
Well, above him, if that decision could have been taken out of his hands as well. But they ended up going to the playoffs that year. So, and remember, they came out like gangbusters, and took the league a while to figure out what they were doing. Nick Foles had a Nick Foles type year. But yeah, things went down quickly, spiraled certainly in 2015, and it just
Do you remember that Thanksgiving game in Detroit?
It was the worst I've ever seen.
I said at the end of the broadcast, and it got picked up all over the place. I said there are 2 minutes and 12 seconds left. That's what I am most thankful for today. that was one of the worst games I have ever seen. It was a total disaster.
Well, I'll give you one story. So at the press conference afterwards, I remember running down, I wrote kind of a scathing column of the team and Chip said, he kept being asked, okay, is it this, is it that, and he kept saying, no. And I said, well, if it's none of those things, is it you? And he just kind of, he looked at me and then things didn't go so well after that, and he stopped answering some of my questions at press conferences.
He didn't like you at the end.
He didn't like me at the beginning. He didn't like me at the beginning. I'm his Homer, and he didn't like me.
Oh, but you know what he did? He had me. Dave Phipp, who was the special teams coach, came to me. This shocked me. About 3 games into the season, he said, Chip suggested that I get together with you, and you come in every week and narrate the special teams films for the guys to get them all stirred up. So I came in, and Phipp would put together a script, and I would do the narration of all the special teams assignments, and the gunners are going to be from, and he'd give them nicknames, and I did all that for him. Chip never said thank you. Oh. Dave Phipp was terrific, and by the way, he's still the special teams coach of the Lions.
Yeah, chance the Eagles could see them coming up if we're transitioning.
Are we going to talk about the playoffs?
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
We're taking a break.
We'll take another break, and we'll be back to actually
no more memory lane. Let's talk about this Eagles team.
Well, that wasn't exactly memory lane. It was
Nightmare
two
lane.
coaches
Nightmare
again.
lane.
All right. We will be back right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Join us for a casual, stress-free New Year's Eve. Early or late, you decide. Celebrate with football, food, and fun. Enjoy buy one, get one mouth-watering snow crabs from open to close. Happy hour starts at 4 with $3 domestics, $5 Tito's, $6 seltzers, plus half-price wings, pizza, and shrimp. Then late-night happy hour with $5 champagne toasts. Casual, stress-free, and easy. Chickies and Pete's for New Year's Eve.
When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO today. Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at Ventresca.com.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. And here's the pitch. BCWSA water and sewer customers, you have a new and improved option to pay your bill that's convenient, reliable, and secure. Powered by Invoice Cloud, you can pay your bill 24/7 online, pay by text or phone, or sign up for autopay to avoid fees for late or missed payments. Visit bcwsa.net to sign up or for more info. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, proven.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And back we are, Chickies and Pete's in Audubon, Pennsylvania. Our guest is Jeff McLane of the Inquirer. And Dave, you have something to say.
Merrill, I sure do. It's time now for this week's injury review, brought to you by the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio. Contact them today for a free consultation at 215-806-3689. That's 215-806-3689. Eagles come out of Sunday healthy.
Yeah.
No
well,
injuries.
they didn't play anybody.
Right.
Except for Dallas
Goedert, who came in, had 4 catches, looked really good. The Eagles, Milton Williams played. We saw a little bit of Jordan Davis as well. He came and played well. So the Eagles, the only thing we are waiting on, as we said earlier in the show, is Jalen Hurts to come out of concussion protocol. And all we know is that he remains in concussion protocol.
So, minor thing. Only thing you're worried about
Minor,
is
just
whether
the quarterback.
they have Jalen Hurts.
That's right.
You know I am a big Jalen Hurts fan, Jeff, and I thought that he was a terrific quarterback from the beginning. And I do think that he does not get the credit that he deserves. I think he's bright. I think he is dedicated. I think he's got a lot of ability.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, this hasn't been his best year in terms of passing the ball, and he I wouldn't say willingly, but he was able to allow the offense morph into one that's run heavy. He's become a little more of a game manager, but a lot of credit has to go to how he's handled that and the way he has not turned the ball over. I mean, 6 turnovers in the first 4 games, and
3 in the opener.
Yeah, and he only ended up with 5 interceptions on the season. I think he had a couple more fumbles in there, but for the most part, if you look at his turnover numbers, vastly different than what we saw last year.
Which leads me to the question for Sunday. If you are the Green Bay Packers, how are you playing? We're assuming that Jalen is playing. How are you playing the Philadelphia Eagles, knowing that your best cornerback, Jair Alexander, is out, knowing that both Devontae and A.J. combined for 12 catches, 209 yards, something like that, and a touchdown back in Week 1 in September in Brazil? Are you just gearing up to stop Saquon Barkley and daring Jalen Hurts to win from the pocket?
I mean, I think that's got to be their plan. And they naturally play a lot of single high safety, sort of like what Pittsburgh did a few weeks ago, and you saw what the Eagles did to them.
Yep.
They don't play a lot of man. They play almost zone defense more than anybody. But AJ and Devontae can beat zone man. It doesn't really matter as much there. I think Jalen probably is a little better versus man than zone. My concerns with Jalen this season have been just on dropbacks. I think he's almost at 25% of non-throws, meaning that he's either taken a sack, thrown the ball away, or scrambled. Now, that isn't to say that's all bad, because sometimes the best play is to throw the ball away. Sometimes the best play is to scramble, and we all know what he can do with his legs. And sometimes taking a sack could be the best play because rather than turn the ball over. But that is by far the highest number of his career and by far the highest number of any quarterback in the NFL. And that speaks to a little bit that just he's got to get the ball out quicker. And I think we saw that against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And he admitted as much, yeah. So, maybe they'll take a little bit of what we saw with Tanner this past week. I know we haven't seen a lot of that type of offense when Jalen has been there, because I don't know how much he loves it. But he's going to have to drop and throw the ball at times, certainly. And if they stack the box and try and stop Saquon, but teams have done that anyway, and they've still been successful because they have such a great offensive line and they have such a great running back.
But the big thing about Jalen is wherever he has been in his career, at Alabama, at
He's a winner.
Oklahoma. Here he's a winner. He is a winner, and there's no way you can minimize that.
No, there's something to be said about that. And then this year, the struggles that he had last year, the complementary football is important in this game. And they have sometimes I feel like I'm not doing my job because this defense is ranked number 1 in the NFL. I don't know if we've given Vic Fangio and that unit enough credit because that helps the offense. Because we've seen a lot of slow starts out of this offense, and the defense just keeps them in games. How many times have they had turnovers in their own territory, and the defense has come up big? They came up big actually in that Green Bay game.
In week 1, 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean that's I'm not trying to take anything away from Jalen. He's a very good quarterback in this league, and has played to his strengths when he's had to. We'll see how he does in this postseason because a lot of it's going to be on him, I think, because like Dave said, they're going to force him to have to drop.
And
drop a throw.
that leads into this week, and if he returns to the practice field, how do you knock off the rust from having not played in the last couple of weeks, and going into the playoffs where you really can't start slowly and expect to be in the game? The worst thing that could happen is that he gets cleared late in the week, practices only a very little, starts on Sunday, and the Eagles find themselves in a hole against the Green Bay offense that we remembered how they started the postseason last year in Dallas, and they just blew the doors off the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, remember, he started in Brazil and won that game without playing one snap in a preseason game.
Yeah,
right, but he practiced all the way through, and he wasn't injured.
Give him a day and a half or 2 days of practice, just throwing to those receivers, and the rust will go away.
I would say I'd be a little concerned about the rust because when these late season injuries have become the norm for him a little bit, and in 2021 it clearly affected him in that Bucs playoff game. That was an ankle. In 2022 he had the shoulder, and they rushed him back for that season finale.
Giants.
He got the win. It took him until the Super Bowl to really be Jalen. They didn't need him as much in the divisional playoff and the NFC Championship game. He played well, but they didn't need him to carry the load. And then last year, certainly there were little things here and there that affected him. He still has actually the finger injury on his left finger. So that has affected how he's had to hand the ball off. So I do worry a little bit about Russ Merrill.
But I think if he plays and he's okay this week, he won't change his game. If there's an opportunity to run and everybody's covered, he'll go. He'll just go all out.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, and the difference between those previous injuries is that, once he's cleared from the concussion, you would think that everything's fine. There's nothing going to be holding him back. Whereas at the shoulder, it was never really 100%. The ankle was never 100%. The knee last year was lingering all throughout the season.
What comes back? The timing, the anticipation throws. Something that I saw with Tanner, and I'm going back to he threw with anticipation. And Jalen.
By the way, Dave is already reserving a spot in Canton for Tanner.
Well,
McKee.
listen, we'll mark it down right here. I mean, I will tell you that I'm president of the Tanner McKee fan club. I think he's going to be a terrific quarterback in the NFL. And when you suggested he could get a 2 in a trade, I agree. 2 first-round draft picks for Tanner McKee, I think is a very fair deal.
Mormon missile.
Mormon missile. But no, but I think for Jalen, it is incumbent upon him and this offense to come out of the gates with some success, understanding how the crowd at Lincoln Financial Field can be.
Well,
the offense of the Green Bay Packers, by the way.
You raise a good point there. What would concern you most about the Packers this week? I look at this, and the fans are very excited, and I am, as I get before every game, but especially a playoff game. But while I'm optimistic, I think this is a tough path that the Eagles have to take to get ultimately to New Orleans, because 2 years ago, it was a dream. You played a mediocre Giants team, and then you made Brock Purdy disappear in the first quarter. That was the most boring playoff game I've ever done. There was no way there was any drama in that. Eagles just had to run out the clock from the second quarter on.
Glorious.
That game was over at halftime.
Yeah. The Packers are a good team. They have a good defense. They have a good offense. The offense is balanced. They run the ball a fair amount.
That's
effectively.
Josh Jacobs, number 8.
Yeah, correct. And this Matt LaFleur offense is it comes from the Shanahan tree, so you're going to see a lot of play action. You're going to see a lot of marrying of the run and the pass to look alike. That's why, and Vic Fangio spoke about this today, they've been so explosive throwing the ball down the field. And it's going to be interesting because you have the most explosive passing offense in the NFL going against the best defense to shut down explosive plays. So something is going to give here probably when you have those two extremes. And that I think that is something the Eagles have to be careful about. But Vic Fangio, the one thing he is adamant about is not giving up explosive plays.
Yeah, and I think he was also really honest today talking about the run defense. They've had games where they've been very, very good against the run. They've had games where they've been okay, and then they've had games where they've struggled against the run. And I think if you don't contain Josh Jacobs, who's an underrated running back, Eagles fans need to know just how good Josh Jacobs is. Nearly 1,400 yards on the ground. I think 15 touchdowns. I mean, he is somebody that the Eagles must contain. And in that first game, Jacobs really didn't do a whole lot, but the Packers still had so many explosive plays. It was a really bad game from C.J. Gardner-Johnson and from the Eagles in the secondary. Avonte Maddox really struggled. I think the Eagles are better equipped now with Cooper DeJean replacing Maddox, with C.J. understanding the defense, and with everybody coming together as they have throughout the 17-game regular season. So I feel like the Eagles' defense will be able to keep Philadelphia in this game, and it's up to the offense to score 27 points to win the game.
Do you know what's amazing about this talented Eagles team? There's only one player, Darius Slay, on defense who's over 30, and Lane Johnson's the only over 30 player on the offense. It's a really young team.
Yeah, I spoke to both those guys this past week just about how those guys have kept them feeling young. They like being around those guys. Lane is coming back. I said he's coming back. Slay, not so sure about that, but this team is built for more than just this year.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
Woo! The last thing I remember, I was outside Chicky and Pete's.
Of course, George. Chicky and Pete's is Philadelphia's most decorated and award-winning restaurant.
I give each of the kids a Chicky and Pete's gift card. It's the gift that always fits.
It's almost as good as getting your wings.
Yeah, that's right, Clarence. You can get your wings at Chicky's, and crab fries and lobster pizza and a hot beef sandwich.
You see, George, it really is a wonderful place, this Chicky and Pete's.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at PennCommunityBank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, proven.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And it is time for this week's Penworth Financial Keys to the Game, the key to your financial future. It's Penworth Financial. Call them today at 267-997-4503 or visit penworth.com.
How about we go Jeff first?
Okay,
He's the guest.
Jeff,
He's the esteemed guest.
Okay. What am I doing?
Key to the game?
Key to the game.
Oh,
way to stay in the program here,
geez,
Jeff.
Sorry, guys. I was looking at me. I didn't think you'd go to me first. You mentioned Dallas Goedert. I know people give him grief for all the injuries and stuff like that, but he's a phenomenal run blocker.
He is.
And if you look at the numbers with him in there versus when he's not in there, I think in terms of EPA, which is advanced analytic, but they're first in the league, and when he's not in there, they're ninth.
Yeah.
And so, obviously they wanted to get him some catches this past week, but I think the key to the game could be him. And then I asked Nick about this question on Monday, and he says, well, what does Dallas give you in the run game? And he just talked about more diversity. I think they can run more plays with him. That split zone play where you have the tight end have to come across and wham guys, he can do that. Yep. He can take on ends one-on-one. So I think Dallas is going to really help a run game that's, at times actually, as great as Saquon in the run game has been, there's been the last month, I'd say, it hasn't been as good as it was before that.
They've stuck with it, though, and that really does make the difference. And eventually they grind you down. They just wear you out defensively, and I can see the Eagles doing that if they start strong. All right, so that's yours. Shall I go, Merrill, or would you like to go?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
I'll go, and that's put the heat on Jordan Love.
Okay.
Get Jalen Carter doing what he does so well. And I thought the Eagles got a terrific game on Sunday from Jordan Davis. And he's the guy who can do some stopping and clog up the middle for give Josh a lot of trouble.
I'm going to go with the turnover ratio. And I know this is boring, and I know that we could say the same thing every single week. But when I think of Jalen and I think of the fact that he hasn't played for weeks, he just has to come out of the gates strongly, and I think that both teams have done a great job this year of taking the football away and then scoring off of those takeaways. The Green Bay Packers have 117 points off of takeaways this year. The Philadelphia Eagles ranked just behind them, third overall in the NFL, with 104 points off of takeaways. To me, ball security spells the difference in this football game, that in the red zone.
Well, the interesting thing is when the Eagles left Tampa Bay after that travesty and 33-16 loss,
yes,
they were -6 in turnover differential, and now they're +11. But Green Bay is +12.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. The Packers, they are a very opportunistic defense. Jordan Love protects the football. Josh Jacobs is excellent as a running back. I mean, really, these two teams are kind of similar in the way they're structured and the way that they operate offensively. I know that this is not this Nick Sirianni offense. I don't know. It's not a Shanahan offense. Is there a closeness to what they do, Jeff, in terms of how I guess with Kellen's offense, is there a tree?
Yeah, Kellen's a little more West Coast. But
so it wasn't Shanahan originally kind of?
Yeah, and then of course it became different because when he got to Denver,
the one cut running back.
Yeah, it just became and those zone blocking schemes are just among the best that the NFL has ever seen. But I do agree with you that big picture, if you look at them, there is some similarities just in terms of they both like to run the ball a lot. And then on the defensive side of the ball, neither coordinator likes to blitz very much. And Love actually struggles a fair amount with the blitz. But Fangio doesn't like blitzing if he doesn't have to. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe he dialed up a bunch in the first game, and they were pretty effective, actually. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that as well. But the one thing with Love, he's very good at getting out of trouble, very good at scrambling.
Ron Jaworski said today that he felt that Jordan Love was one of the most overrated quarterbacks.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Well, I mean, when he's on, he's great. But there's something about this team that they just haven't risen to where I thought they would be this season. I thought that after last year's playoff success, narrowly losing to the Green Bay Packers, I thought that Green Bay was going to be the next great team in the NFC.
They were a hot pick this offseason to get to the Super Bowl and for him to win the MVP, and I think those expectations probably were a little too high for him. And there are times when he makes decisions and throws, I'm just like, like he kind of has these moments, these brain farts every now and then, I feel. But again, like you said, he does have a cannon for an arm. As Vic Fangio said today, he can make all the throws you need to make.
Sometimes when you go into the playoffs, you look at players that come through in the clutch. I spoke with Jeff. I spoke today with Jake Elliott, and Jake Elliott just seems fine. I mean, he doesn't seem shaky. He's not worried about anything.
I hope to hear that.
I think seriously. I just felt that he can't wait for the playoffs to begin. He has not been shaken off the field by this. He just feels he's missed some field goals he should have made, misjudged the wind and little various differences. But I don't think you have to worry about him. I think he's going to be fine. And throughout most of his career, the bigger the game, the bigger Jake Elliott.
As every Eagles fan out there, including Angelo Spadaro, exhales and is taking comfort in the words of Merrill Reese, because that is the biggest concern that Eagles fans have about this 2024 playoff team. Jake Elliott in a long kick situation.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
He hasn't made one over 50.
He's made one over 50.
Oh, he did make one.
Made the one against Washington.
Correct.
Over 50.
Those are long kicks.
Best defensive games of the year, Baltimore maybe, and then what? Pittsburgh. What did the Eagles blitz in those games? I don't remember. I don't think they did much.
Not much.
Yeah.
They blitzed a lot in Washington, the second game, and so sometimes it seems like when nothing's working, that's when
he dials it up.
Vic has to dial it up.
They held King Henry to under 100 yards.
And if you can do that to Josh Jacobs, I think the Eagles will be in fine shape. But, Merrill, I think we've got to get some picks.
All right, let's get some picks. I am up now by 3 games.
No.
Two games.
No. That's not what you told me before we started the show.
Wait a minute. I am 56-32. You are 54-34. So that's two games.
All right. Did he not, George, say that he was up by 1 game before the – are you adding games as we go along here, Merrill?
No. I was up by 1, and now I picked up another point.
Between dinner and here?
Okay, but these are the playoffs, and each game is worth 2 points, and we're not including the Eagles.
We are not.
I am not including the Eagles.
Are you going to pick the Eagles to win the game?
We're not picking the Eagles.
I know that.
Okay,
I'm just
but
asking.
if I were picking, I would pick the Eagles to win the game.
Jeff, are you going to pick the Eagles to win the game?
I'll make my pick later in the week, but I'm definitely leaning in that direction.
Yeah, I read you every Sunday morning before I leave for the games. I want to know what Jeff McLane thinks.
No, I'm not. Honestly, the one thing I always tell people is, like, I'm good at reporting. I'm not good at prognosticating.
Merrill is leaning in that direction also.
I do want you to say, since we brought it up, we do a thing in the broadcast booth every last preseason game. Mike Quick, Joe McPeak, our producer, me, and our spotter, Billy Warndell. And we each – Joe gives us a card. We each fill the order of finish in the NFC East with the records. And I picked the Eagles 14-3.
Well done.
I did.
I did not pick 14 wins.
I picked 14-3.
I picked 17 wins, but that's I do that every year.
My son Nolan came to me after the Tampa Bay game and said, "Dad, they're lucky if they win 7." All right, here we go. All right, the Chargers at Houston.
I will take Houston in that game.
You will take Houston.
Houston's home, correct?
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Chargers.
I have the Chargers. I don't think it'll be close.
Okay.
Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
Baltimore.
I think Baltimore could come out of the AFC.
I think they could too.
I'm a non-Lamar Jackson fan. I do not believe in Lamar Jackson. I believe in playoffs he is not a winner.
That's true. He has struggled in the playoffs. I think last year was the first time that I don't think it was his fault.
Yeah.
What would you think the atmosphere in Philadelphia would be like if they had a head coach who hasn't won a playoff game since 2017?
Oh, well, Harbaugh.
No. Tomlin.
Oh, Tomlin hasn't won one in that long.
Since 2017.
Yeah, they're very patient in Pittsburgh. They've only had 3 head coaches in their history. It's not just the fans, though. It's also the owner, too, here.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll have a quick hook.
Well, they have a great organization. Tomlin's never had below a 500 season.
Correct.
But is that good enough? I mean, you're a colleague at the Inquirer today suggested that if the Eagles lose, Nick Sirianni would be gone.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Marcus.
Name. We don't need to speak the name. Everyone knows.
He did say that.
Outrageous takes. Go ahead, Merrill.
Okay. 1 minute. Okay. Denver at Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Okay.
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Washington at Tampa Bay.
I'm going to go Tampa Bay.
Are you?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tampa too.
I'm going to go Washington. And the Monday night game is Miami at the Rams.
No, it's not Miami.
No, it's Minnesota at the Rams.
Minnesota at the Rams.
Miami is home.
That would be interesting.
I just couldn't read it.
I'm going to go Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm going to go Minnesota too.
I'm going to go Minnesota too. All right,
and then Minnesota beats Detroit next week, and the NFC Championship game is right here in Philadelphia.
Well, that would be great.
Yes.
That would be great.
Thank you
all
all.
right, I want to thank Jeff McLane, who always
so
does
much,
a wonderful job. We appreciate you
Thanks,
coming
guys,
out.
for having me.
Thank you so much.
Dave. Our technical engineer is Chris Irmer. And Pro Football Report's executive producer is George Forster, PGA. So for all of us, we thank you for joining us.
Go Birds,
good night, everyone.
And go Birds.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297CL Levittown.
The crown jewel of Lower Bucks.